Hello and welcome to Read Becca. Today we have a very exciting book haul for you. I have been waiting for this day for a year and a half because I finally am fully cleared from my second shot. So I was able to go to a bookstore, and I very rarely shop at chain bookstores. I typically go for charity sales, which haven't started running yet, but soon. And I really like secondhand bookstore shopping. So I hit a local secondhand and overstock shop, as well as half price books, and which is kind of the same deal, where it's mostly overstock and secondhand. And their selection was really reduced. So clearly things that are going on, people are not reselling their books, it seems like, but I found some great stuff, so I'm really excited. But first, let's start with some stuff I bought brand new. So first up, my very favorite read this past month, Sorrowland by Salomon. I was very excited to get an ARC of this. So I had already read it before it actually was published, but I knew I absolutely needed a copy of my own, so I had this on pre-order. And for once, this is actually, I think, a more beautiful copy in the US than in the UK, so I absolutely love that cover. I have a full review for this one, so I will link that down below if you want to check it out, where you can hear a little bit more about this book. But it is a science fiction, horror, weird biological, a little bit of everything, all about a woman who is pregnant and giving birth in the woods after she has escaped a cult. So I will leave it there. Go check out my review if you want to hear more. So next up, two more that I have already read and reviewed. I will link my review down below. We've got A Memory Called Empire and Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. And this is a space opera all about an ambassador from an independent station to the great colonizing empire. So love these covers as well. They're absolutely fantastic. I read the first book and kind of knew that I really enjoyed it and thought it was probably a new favorite, but I wanted to see some more work from the author before I put them on my new favorites list. So I was kind of waiting till I read the second book, read them both on ebook from my library, and it completely cemented that, in fact, they are a new favorite auto by author. So I wanted to have copies of these on my shelves. So I will link my full review that I just posted for both of these, and I highly recommend you check them out. Those are 5-star reads as well. So next up, on to my new purchases that I have not read. I went in specifically with the idea in mind of looking for some things that are newer, but I had already read as well. So I tend to not purchase full price new books most of the time. I was very focused on finding things for my shelves, and I didn't really find very much of that. I got one that is a real surprise. We'll save that for the end though. So most of these are brand new books that I haven't read, so let's find out what they are. So first up, I have Cat's Eye by Andrei Norton. And that is a great classic SF cover. This is very old. Andrei Norton, I have never read from before, but is a classic woman in sci-fi author, so someone I want to check out. And this book is all about Troy Horan, and it's a sci-fi. The blurb says, "The big cat cried, 'Danger!' Troy Horan heard it with his mind, just as he had heard the fox's warning and the kikajous. He didn't understand how he could communicate with the animals or why they were contacting him. But from the moment he began work at Kiger's Pet Emporium on Korwar, he was enmeshed in a perilous intrigue. An intrigue that would leave more than one man dead, an entire government in jeopardy, and Horan himself both master and captive of the most extraordinary band of warriors his world had ever known. So this guy can talk to animals. Sounds pretty cool. So next up, we have C.J. Cherryh, and I have a whole collection of C.J. Cherryh, well, actually, but this is the only other fantasy work by Cherryh that I have, and this is the Morgane Saga. So I have that one already, but I have loads of sci-fi, and I was interested when I spotted this. This is another fantasy work. So we've got The Tree of Swords and Jewels, and this is the first in a series, I believe. So this is, they said that Kieran Cullian was Fae, that he had the touch of the Sith to him and on his lands, and it was true. Elvish blood ran in his veins, and he had been to that other world, that parallel and magical land of Eld, where Arafel, the Lady of Trees, held dominion. I'm guessing the lady is Arafel on the cover. But what should have been a blessing was as much a curse, for jealousy and fear grew in the lands of men. Shadows of newly awakened evil swarmed across both landscapes, threatening to bring the clang and reek of war from the warm hearthstones of the mortal keeps to the silvery heart of Eildwood. And Kieran knew that he must once again put his humanity aside and reclaim his haunted weapons from the Tree of Swords, or see both his worlds fold into darkness. Ooh. So that sounds like pretty classic fantasy. I want to know what this guy down here is doing. He's a pretty weird looking little guy. So that should be fun for my Cherryh shelf. And then I got two in a series that I have not read. I got Planetfall and After Atlas by Emma Newman. And I don't really know too much about these other than they are kind of space colony, and there are a lot of mental health elements to all of the books in this series. And there is at least one, if not more, books out in this series as well. So Kalinati has talked a lot about these books and really raves about them. So I trust that opinion explicitly. So I really wanted to pick them up and was super excited. I found one of these on a YA shelf and one of them in the clearance rack. So very happy to have them. But we'll read just the first one since that's a sequel. So the first one is all about Renata Gali, who believed in Li Sumin's vision of a world far beyond Earth calling to humanity, a planet promising to reveal the truth about our place in the cosmos and untainted by overpopulation, pollution, and war. Ren believed that vision enough to give up everything to follow Sumi into the unknown. More than 20 years have passed since Ren and the rest of the faithful braved the starry abyss and established a colony at the base of the enigmatic alien structure, where Sumi has since resided alone. All that time, Ren has worked hard as the colony's 3D printer engineer, creating the tools necessary for human survival in an alien environment and harboring a devastating secret. Ren continues for the good of her fellow colonists to perpetuate the lie that forms the foundation of the colony, despite the personal cost. Then a stranger appears, far too young to have been part of the first planetfall, a man who bears a remarkable resemblance to Sumi. The truth Ren has concealed since planetfall can no longer be hidden, and its revelation might tear the colony apart. Whoa. So, sounds really up my alley. All right, so next up we have, and I don't know what these editions are, but Gateway Omnibus. They had a whole bunch of these, and I think they are probably bind-ups of short work from early SFF authors. So this is obviously C.L. Moore. You may recall I did the Women Write Classic SFF readathon a couple weeks back, and I read C.L. Moore's Shambleau, which was originally a work published in Weird Tales. So I think most of the works in here are going to be from similar publications. So this is a bind-up of 3 collected works of short works by C.L. Moore. So Gyrel of Jory is like Sword and Sorcery, so it's a short series following that character, Gyrel, who has basically kind of episodic heroic adventures. Then the Northwest of Earth, I believe, is going to be the collection following the character Northwest Smith, which is the protagonist of the one I read, Shambleau. And he's kind of a space cowboy, basically, so those should be really fun and entertaining. And then Judgment Night, I think, is another Sci-fi, yeah. Judgment Night, a selection of science fiction. So I think that one's planetary romance as well. So should be really fun reading here. And I may actually try to go back and check out some more of these because these are really nice, like floppy trade paperback. So that is a great find. Very excited about that one. Next I have Stephen Brust, To Reign in Hell. Stephen Brust is like a long-running author. He's very most well known for the Vlad Taltos series probably, and I think that's got maybe 40 books in it. But this one has a standalone, and I'm very excited to have this because it has gone out of print before. So this is not in fantastic condition. It's a little bit beat up, but it's fine. It's readable. So I'm pretty happy to have this. But the back says, "The time is the beginning, the place is heaven. The story is the revolt of the angels, a war of magic, corruption, and intrigue that could destroy the universe." So it's his take on a fantastical retelling of the war in heaven. And that is very much definitely my thing. I think you can probably see, got Good Omens over here. I love Neil Gaiman's kind of precursor to that work, where he wrote a short story that got turned into a graphic novel titled Murder Mysteries. That's all about the fall of Lucifer. I really love those kind of stories where modern authors twist that biblical storytelling. So this is right up my alley, so I'm really excited to get to that one. And then next I have Merlin, and this is a sequel, so I'm not going to read you the back, but essentially Stephen R. Lougheed writes a lot of historical fantasy, and he does fantastic retellings. So this is obviously about Merlin. This is a Arthurian retelling series, and the first book, Taliesin, is kind of all about Merlin's parents. So that one draws in like Druidic and Atlantean history, well, not history, but mythos into the telling of, basically that is what Merlin's magical line comes from. So I have wanted to get back to the series and have seen a lot of really ugly editions, and this is what I have the first book in, so I'm very excited to have the trade paperback of this that matches my first copy. So happy to get to this one. I love this series so much. I had named lots of characters in video games after characters from that original book, so really looking forward to that one as well. And then remember at the top where I mentioned I was looking for some things that were newer releases that I've already read and were kind of favorites I just want to have on my shelf. Well, you will not believe what I found, and it's extremely appropriate for this haul. So I found The Deep by Rivers Salomon. So again, a new favorite author. I absolutely adore all of Salomon's work. I absolutely wanted to have this on my shelves. I was super excited to spot it at Half Price Books. And obviously you can see this is about mermaids. This is all about our protagonist Yetu, who is kind of a memory keeper for her people. And it gets really into the collective memory of trauma because these mermaids are the product of the slave trade, and effectively pregnant women fell overboard from slave ships, and that spawned these mermaids. So they are going through a cycle where Yetu, as the memory keeper, is about to kind of release the memory of their whole history to the people, and then they go through kind of a catharsis, and then they release the memory back to her alone, and she's kind of questioning bearing that burden as a solo person. So really fantastic storytelling. There's so much to it. I absolutely love this one, and it's got really great representation. I mean, she is using she/her pronouns, but the mermaids don't really have a traditional human gender, so I would call it more non-binary. And then as well, the character, I think most of the characters that are protagonists in Salomon's work are kind of non-neurotypical or neurodiverse, and this particular book is the most explicit on the page about that, because she is actually hypersensory, and that is quite part of why she has the role of this memory keeper. So really stoked about this one. I'm so thrilled. I'm gonna have to clear some shelf space for a new section for River Salomon after this haul. So really exciting book haul. I am so excited that I was able to go back to a bookstore. It was so nice to just browse the bookshelves. So I'm super pleased with all these finds. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I pick up off the shelves. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe.